Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I am Diana Murray with ASAP Accounting and Payroll. I will actually be your host and presenter today, so thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video so I can get to my presentation, so see you in a bit. Okay, so remember that this is an on-demand webinar, so you can watch it over and over again. Hit pause, rewind. That's the luxury of viewing this in this on-demand format. So let's get started. Our quick agenda for today is I will tell you a little bit about myself. This will lead into the challenge, and then we'll get into the subject matter, which is covering 2 apps to help you better manage expenses and receipts. I'll try to keep today's presentation to 30 minutes, so it'll be short and sweet and hopefully deliver some valuable information for you to take away. This is a public webinar, so although we have a number of clients with us today, we do have some folks who might not know a lot about us. ASAP started in 1990 in Telluride, Colorado. We have 3 regional offices in Telluride, Durango, and Denver, and assist clients with payroll processing and bookkeeping services. A passion of ours here at ASAP Accounting and Payroll is really technology, and specifically using apps and software to help automate and streamline processing for business. At ASAP, it's our aim to make business as simple as possible. That's the ASAP that we stand for. And really our goal is to get you back at what you do best, or in some cases back to doing what you love. And in Colorado, that's typically time outside with family, cycling, skiing, hiking. So let us do the work so you can get back to doing what you love. A little bit about me to help set the stage for today's topic. Again, I'm Diana Murray with ASAP Accounting and Payroll, and I have the honor of being the Vice President of Operations here at ASAP. And I've been here almost 11 years. And with that, and like any small business manager, I wear a lot of hats. More specifically, I feel like I wear a lot of hats professionally and personally. And the swarm of information that comes across my desk, comes across my brain in a given day is tremendous, as I'm sure it is for each of you. A bit about me personally. I live here in Durango, southwest corner of Colorado. I have a beautiful family, 2 little boys who are a blessing, and I'll also say they're quite a test of my patience. And when I'm not at my desk or hanging out with my kids, you can usually find me in various aspects of the community. And I also have a great passion for cycling and anything bike related. I put this never-ending list of my roles here on the slide to demonstrate how the list for each of us truly goes on and on and on and on. Which leads me to the challenge of, how do we manage it all? And on to the next slide, which I feel like this image represents truly how I feel on any given day. And really, sometimes I feel like I'm just spending so much time on the mundane tasks, tracking down more details, and really for me, just trying to juggle it all. Regardless, manual processes are still the norm in most organizations. And couple that with the fact that we're expected to handle more tasks and interruptions than ever before, this really leads to stress and burnout and more stress and more stress. And being in an age of technology, we're pretty lucky to have some tools that can help solve some of this. Here at ASAP, we specialize in some of those applications that can really help manage those things that would otherwise fall through the cracks. And typically with manual processes, we're continuously waiting on information, have unscheduled communication, insufficient coordination, electronic barriers, fragmented procedures, insufficient resources, and again, the list here goes on and on and on. And these are hurdles and stressors for many of us. So what we're going to talk about today, again, this gets back to the solving of that problem, is that there truly is an app for everything. And since we here at ASAP live and breathe accounting, and more specifically, we live and breathe in QuickBooks, we're constantly seeking out new tools And specifically, we're trying to find those tools that integrate directly with QuickBooks so that we can take away that duplication of efforts. So for a moment, I want to point out that there's a significant difference in the available apps for QuickBooks Desktop as there are for QuickBooks Online. To put that into more perspective, really the architecture and programming of QuickBooks Online is designed as an open platform. This means that anyone out there can develop an app that can integrate with it. That's not the case with QuickBooks Desktop. So that's why you'll find very limited apps that integrate directly with QuickBooks Desktop. There might be an import-export kind of option, but I'm talking about apps that integrate directly with QuickBooks Online with maybe a click. And actually, there's only over 500 apps available in the QuickBooks App Store, which is formerly known as the Marketplace. And for us, that means 500 awesome ways to expand the power of QuickBooks and really expand the tool set for your business. So for today, we're going to dive into 2 specific apps that help you streamline expenses and receipts in different ways. Each of these apps have a specific purpose, and they're varied in their own way. But the good news is that I'm here to explain each of them so that hopefully at the end of this presentation, you might understand the one that might be the better fit for your organization. So I'll cover each of these at a super high level and touch on some features along the way and other factors for you to consider. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. The first app that I'm going to talk about is ReceiptBank. And specifically, this is related to expenses you track, like business meals, travel, entertainment, miscellaneous supplies. All of these expenses generally fall under operating expenses. And these are variable expenses, unlike fixed costs like rent. And these variable expenses can get out of hand really quickly, and especially if you don't have an easy way to follow and manage them. And this is especially true if you have multiple card holders in your organization or employees that you need to reimburse. So I want to introduce you to ReceiptBank. And ReceiptBank is one of those tools that can help you manage these receipts with the help of automation that does a lot of those tedious tasks along the way. And it does it faster, more accurately, and with more transparency for the organization. So the next few slides, I'm going to walk you through specific features within the application. First, I want to talk about the simple receipt capture from a cardholder's perspective. So ReceiptBank has a cool app that's a one-tap. It's called the one-tap app, and the name says it perfectly. The cardholder simply opens the app, snaps a photo, and hits submit. From the back end, as soon as you add a receipt or invoice, ReceiptBank will automatically extract all the information that's needed for record keeping. This is done through optimal character recognition known as OCR, and it will actually pull in the supplier or vendor, the date, amount, and it will even recommend a category that it thinks it should be plopped into. And if the cardholder is savvy with accounting, they can even add notes or edit that information right there within the app. For example, some notes might include additional information such as customer, job info, or even the actual expense account that it needed to be categorized, or a description for the memo. If there's no notes, again, for the cardholder, it's just truly one tap to get that receipt sent in. This slide shows a close-up of the information that's automatically extracted from the receipt and then automatically entered. We'll talk about the back end and review the accounting review process shortly. But again, from a cardholder's perspective, it really is submission in a few clicks. I'll also mention here that in addition to the app, you can also email receipts into the system. So each account gets a specific custom email address. So if you hand out that email address to any vendors or email that receipt into that email address, it will automatically come into the system. You can also upload directly from your computer. So if there's anything that you have on your workstation, you can get that into ReceiptBank as well. But for me, again, from a cardholder's perspective, I really enjoy being able to take a picture of that coffee receipt, snap a photo, hit submit, and throw that receipt in the recycling bin. There's something joyful about that. What's cool about ReceiptBank is the ability to manage multiple cards in one organized platform. So each cardholder will have their separate username and password for ReceiptBank. Or if you have a cardholder that has multiple cards, the user can actually upload receipts for both cards in any order, form, or fashion, and then the system will automatically track each card's expense separately. So back to the receipt process for a minute. Once a receipt is submitted, the cardholder can essentially pitch that receipt, as I said, and then the accounting team, whether that's ASAP's accounting team or an in-house bookkeeper, reviews the transaction for accuracy and accounting entry. ReceiptBank has what's called a practice platform, which acts as the back-end dashboard to review, analyze, and make any adjustments prior to publishing this information to QuickBooks. So you'll see here on the screen that there's a quick review process that you can quickly review the information, make any necessary adjustments before you publish that information to QuickBooks. Once the items are reviewed, the accounting team can then publish this to QuickBooks in just a couple clicks. You can even set up auto-publishing rules on these might be relevant for vendors that always go to the same expense account. So again, makes it a lot easy when that receipt is submitted, it will actually auto-publish to QuickBooks. Another great tool is the Smart Split feature. A Smart Split rule can actually remember the chosen fixed amount line items or percentage splits for those suppliers that have items and values that are, pretty much universal. You can set up those rules again on a fixed amount or a percentage split. This comes in really handy when you have a lot of splits for one charge. So at the end of the day, ReceiptBank, you can really use ReceiptBank and pass along the appropriate information to the accounting team in just a few clicks. Now there's one major hurdle with ReceiptBank in that it only integrates with QuickBooks Online. There's no kind of middleman available for the QuickBooks desktop. It's priced based upon number of users and more specifically on number of items or number of receipts passing through it in a given month. ASAP does offer a discount through our partnership with ReceiptBank. So if you're a client of ASAP's and are interested in ReceiptBank, give us a holler and let's chat more. And on the subject of QuickBooks Online, I can probably speak all day about the differences and advantages of moving to QuickBooks Online. And in fact, I'm going to host a webinar here in the next couple months on that very topic. So stay tuned on our blog for that upcoming webinar, and you can learn a lot more about the differences between QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop. And we do have some resources on our website right now if you want to poke around yourself about those differences. Now we're going to move into our second app, Expensify. Expensify is an app that's similar to ReceiptBank, but in my opinion, it's far more robust. If you need to submit or manage expense reports that include things like mileage, travel, or even if you have an approval workflow that you need to work through with receipt management, then you could look at Expensify as an option. Expensify offers receipt and mileage tracking, expense reporting, and connects directly with your credit card bank, and all seamlessly integrates with QuickBooks. So even if you're a contractor or not necessarily a company card holder, but purchase things on your personal dime and need to submit that for reimbursement, or even if you're just wanting your employees to produce expense reports for you to keep a more watchful eye on those expenses, Expensify again could be a great tool for this. Now I'm going to walk through the specific feature set in Expensify. And first, I'm going to talk about trips. And this relates mostly towards the travel portion of the application. So with Expensify trips, the travel and expense reports are automated both for the employee and the employer. Expensify even integrates and automatically captures receipts from travel tools like Uber. So especially with Uber, you don't get a physical copy of your receipt. It will actually pull that expense directly into Expensify and add it to the expense report. For the traveler as well, with the mobile app in use, they'll actually receive real-time alerts for itinerary changes. If their flight's delayed, if there's been a change, you can kind of see some of that on the screen here. And then from a business and accounting perspective, you really get a true visibility and insight into the cost of the entire trip. So not just putting the flight and hotel on the credit card and never taking a look at the details of the cost of the entire trip from start to finish. Next, I'm going to talk about the mileage tracker feature in Expensify. With Expensify Mileage Tracker, you really can hit the road with your GPS enabled and simply tap Start when you start your trip and stop when you've reached your destination. The app will then display the start and ending address as well as the total distance traveled. And if for some reason the GPS locator is unable to identify an address, they will show the starting and ending coordinates and fill in the blanks for you. And I feel like this is especially helpful here in Colorado as we frequently lose cell reception driving over all these mountain passes. So again, it will find your start and your finish, and it will attempt to fill in the blanks for you. The nice part is that with mileage tracking, when it's done on your phone, it will actually automatically add this to your expense report in Expensify. Another great thing is from an organizational perspective, the default mileage rate can be set, and this can be set at a company policy level too and can be applied to all users. And you can set up different rules as well. So if you have a certain rate for one user set and a certain rate for another user set, that can be set up in the company policies. Now for managing expenses and those pesky receipts. So similar to ReceiptBank, Expensify has a one-click receipt tracking. Users simply snap a photo with the phone using the Expensify mobile app. And again, the smart scan technology automatically reads the vendor name, the date, amount, and transcribe this information directly onto the expense report. It also integrates directly with your credit card account. And this is cool because it will actually feed in the charges and try to auto merge the charge to the corresponding receipt. So you can easily even separate those personal expenses from business expenses easily within Expensify, or even the personal credit card versus the business credit card. So the fact that it syncs up directly with the credit card bank is a definite plus. Now, from a compliance standpoint, there are lots of bells and whistles with Expensify. They have a great feature called Expensify's Concierge. The Expensify's Concierge checks every receipt for accuracy and even compliance, meaning it will actually flag any expense that seems fishy before an expense report is actually submitted. And really, this trains the employees to code, categorize, and review their own expenses. And even when an employee submits, Concierge double-check audits that transaction in real time to detect duplicates and ensure that that receipt falls within the company policy. Again, before this expense report is even submitted. This is just a nice picture of the tool, the dashboard, both on Expensify's desktop app and on the mobile app. And this is a nice big picture perspective of how Expensify works. From an expense report perspective, if you are receiving expense reports from your employees or even submitting expense reports, it actually speeds up the reimbursement time as well by automating a lot of this process. One of the big differentiators is that this does integrate with QuickBooks. And I just want to talk a little bit about, again, the differences between Expensify and Receipt Bank. And Expensify is really good when you are tracking both mileage and receipts. The travel is definitely a plus, but I find that most of our clients, aren't necessarily doing travel for work. We do have a lot who do that, but really where Expensify has the upper hand is when you need to track mileage and receipts in one application, where with Receipt Banks, you're really just tracking receipts. On the Expensify pricing, I feel it's come a long way in the past few years, and that could be due to the competitive market. But now they offer a free version, and I feel like more attractive pricing as you get up in features. So if you have more than just receipts and you're looking to have expense reports, or if you're looking for an app to help with mileage tracking and receipt tracking, Expensify might be a better tool for you. Again, if you're just looking for to manage receipts, I do think Receipt Bank is a lot more simpler and a better solution for just managing receipts. I also wanted to point out a few more other applications that we love here at ASAP. Again, we're always looking for those that integrate with QuickBooks. And I'll talk so QuickBooks Online, we talked a little bit about that earlier. We talked about Receipt Bank and Expensify. Bill.com. Bill.com is actually a paperless bill management application. It doesn't quite have a good mobile app. It does have one, and it does work. It's just not as robust as the two before. But what Bill.com is good for is if you have a lot of payables and if you have an approval workflow that you need to go through in order to process those payables, Bill.com is a great tool for that. It takes that process of shuffling paper piles from one desk to the next to approve, to the next to write the expense account, to do the check run, to then sign the checks. It takes that process down to, again, just a few steps. And if you're a nonprofit or a homeowners association and you have bills that need to be paid or approved by a treasurer, this actually will help automate that approval workflow for you. Bill.com also has a payment processing service to it. So similar to like a bank consumer bill pay feature, Bill.com has that same payment processing. So you can actually click and schedule payments and your work is done. I put MileIQ up here. If you are just looking for a mileage tracker app, that's a great, very user intuitive one. Simple, has a lot of good features and pretty affordable. I find this useful, especially for whether you just need to track even personal mileage versus business mileage for tax reasons. MileIQ could be a good fit. Again, we talked about Expensify as that one for managing receipts and mileage in one application, in which case Expensify would be better. Then we have two reporting apps down here at the bottom. We have LivePlan, which is a business planning application, and this is really geared for either startups or businesses that are in expansion mode, and this is going to be your planning tool. Not only is it going to be your planning tool, but it's also going to be your marketing tool to seek out those investors and build your brand and your company. Fathom is a financial reporting application. And if you're bored by profit and loss and balance sheets and are doing a lot of kind of manual charts and manual analysis outside of QuickBooks in Excel or something like that, Fathom is really going to be a great tool for you. It's super dynamic, very easy on the eyes, and you can also plug in information like KPIs, budgets, forecasts, really, really dynamic and customized tool, very affordable, and it definitely turns those financial reports into something that's really meaningful and useful for your organization. So again, these are kind of a few of the apps that we love. We like to specialize in these so you don't have to. And so give us a call if you have any questions regarding any of these apps, and we'd be happy to help you. With that, that concludes today's presentation. I am Diana Murray with ASAP Accounting and Payroll. You can find us online at www.businessasap.com. And again, back to that hike, bike, ski more. We like to take care of that work so that you can get back to doing things that you love. So thank you so much for your time today, and have a great day.